Zach's Rank Buys, stocks with a short-term buy or strong buy recommendation. Now, here are more Zach's Rank Buys. Let's check out some growth and income stocks now with Alex Kolb, our growth and income stock analyst. I was going to say specialist, but I'll just stick with analyst.
That's better. Good title.
All right, a couple of the offerings that you have for us today are ones that I think we've talked about in the past.
It's been a while, but they've certainly been covered before. Yes.
At various points. Yeah, Gap Incorporated, GPS, the ticker symbol, the retailer.
Yeah, well-known retailer here. The company just recently reported its sales results, and before I get into that, the way I like to point out all the time, I do cover growth and income.
Right.
So on the income side here, I do want to point this out real quick. It does have an industry-leading yield of 1.6%, translates into an annual dividend of 34 cents. And then, as I was saying, they did recently report August sales. Overall sales were actually down 2% year over year, and comparable store sales were down 3%. Not entirely unique with retailer, what's going on in the current environment, and really, it wasn't taken. In fact, the comparable store sales were a little bit above estimates. It wasn't taken as a negative thing. The share price is actually climbing toward a 52-week high. And I will also point out on the sales side, Old Navy did really well. Gap owns Old Navy, and they saw a lot of good back-to-school traffic. So the Old Navy segment was actually up 4% on a year-over-year basis for August sales.
So even though sales were down, they're still making money? There's still money?
Yeah, earnings that I will go into second quarter earnings that in a little bit, and they had positive earnings growth there. And overall fundamentally it's still pretty sound. I mean, sales are down in a lot of areas right now, and being down 2 or 3% is not horrible in this environment.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily equate the two, though. Slippage in sales with increase in earnings.
Like everyone else, they're doing some cost cutting, and that provides benefits to earnings, sure.
Okay. And the co-founder died.
Yeah, that's a sad news. Long battle with cancer. He recently passed away. That was just in the news recently.
Right. And I'm surprised that news didn't affect the stock price.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it's fundamentally, again, the numbers are there, and the share price is kind of on the rise. I'm also going to go into a comparison here to the S&P 500 to show how well the shares have done.
All right, well, don't let me interrupt you.
No, I won't. Let me continue. Before I go to all that good stuff, I do want to actually get into the history a little bit here. The company has an outstanding earnings history, as you can tell. Over the past several years, outperformed estimates, analysts' estimates, and met just once. Everything else was a beat. So that's great. And it's not just historically. Going forward, as you can see here, earnings, the Zacks consensus estimates are bullish all across the board. That probably also has a lot to do with, explains why the share price is on the rise. Another explanation is, like as I mentioned earlier, there was a solid quarter, second quarter results. Earnings per share were at 33 cents. It was a 3-cent beat on the Zacks consensus estimate, and was a little bit above the year prior of 32 cents. So there's a little growth there fundamentally in terms of earnings. And the earnings results translated into a soaring share price, something I mentioned a moment ago as well. This right here is a 3-month comparison to the S&P 500, and as you can tell, after they reported, which was just in mid-August, the share price got even a little more of a boost since then, and outperforming the S&P, and as I mentioned, trading very close to its 52-week high.
All right, then you talk about, or you have recently talked about, L3 Communications Holdings. Triple L, the ticker symbol.
Yeah.
They're in the aerospace and defense area.
And communications within that
space.
Yeah.
Where's the growth? Where's the income?
Again, I'll start with income here first, if I may. Earnings, the income is 1.73 cents. I'm sorry, 1.73% in terms of yield. That translates into $1.40 as far as an annual dividend. And also, again, this is a little bit of a rerun, but this company also has a great history in terms of beating estimates. I wanted to point this out as well. Again, dating back to several years, there was only one miss, and every other time there was they exceeded estimates, analyst estimates. And again, in this case, going forward, the projections are bullish as well. Estimates are on their way up all across the board, and this also has a lot to do with the solid second quarter that this company had. Earnings per share came in at $1.90. That was 7% above the Zacks consensus estimate, and sales increased 7% on a year-over-year basis. And if I could just also point out, there's some solid fundamentals here with this one as well. A return on equity of 15%, that's above the 12% for the industry. Its net profit margin of 6% is in line with the industry average. And I don't normally cover valuation, but I do want to point out the forward PE here is extremely low, especially for a solid share price. The share price is on the rise. The forward PE is only at 11%. I don't have a chart showing this, but this company also outperformed the S&P over the past year by a margin of about 10%.
Do you own either of these two?
I do not.
All right, check out more growth and income stocks that Alex has written about by going to Zacks.com's homepage, clicking on, in the upper right-hand corner of that homepage, the most current headline next to the growth and income investing category. We change those headlines for you, those links daily. We put 4 new stocks up there each day, one for each of the investment categories that we write about. Anyway, click on the link, the headline that's there currently when you get there, and it'll take you to Alex's current stock and the story that he's written about, and then an archive of some others. With Alex Kolb, I'm Terry Ruffalo.